cherish all the time you spend, you tuned in too. It's time again, you cherish all the time you spend, you tuned in too. It's the #1 podcast. The topics of discussion when we broadcast. So all them artificial man jokes, we do it natural from the concrete to a public standpoint. Real, wherever you from, life is coexistence, but to know the real, you just gotta listen. Wherever you from, life is
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the 52 Scott Podcast for another episode of Black Friday. I'm your host, K Money, and in the building with me, my co-host, Freddie G, Flash, and Comedian 96. Collectively, we are the Mind of Men. You can find us on Twitter at 52 Scott Podcast, Instagram and Facebook, the 52 Scott Podcast. And if you're on YouTube, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Welcome to another Black Friday. Fellas, today I thought since last week we talked about black privilege, it was only right that we discuss white privilege. What y'all think about that?
Let's do it.
Do we all think that white privilege is a such thing? There is a such thing as white privilege?
Of course.
Definite.
Man, I'm gonna name 10 examples that prove white privilege exists in every aspect imaginable. And, you know, we can talk about each. If you guys disagree or we want to give examples, we can do that as well. First one, I have the privilege of having a positive relationship with the police. We all know that
they definitely had that privilege.
Yeah, and just recently, which is one of the reasons that gave me this idea to do this show. Actually, it was a recent episode I saw that was going viral, where it was some white couples that looked like it was a wedding party. And there was an altercation going on, and the police were there. And the way that they were interacting with the police, one of the policemen had grabbed one of the spouses rather rough, if I'm not mistaken, and one of the husbands ended up swinging and hitting the policeman. And even still, no guns were drawn at this point.
He didn't go to jail.
No taser.
I'm sure he probably went to jail, but it was just, you know, had that been one of us,
right,
you know,
it'd have been a different outcome.
Definitely a different outcome.
Definitely. I mean, look at. You remember the movie Get Out? Remember in the beginning when they was on the road when they hit the deer, and the cop stopped them, pulled them over, and then she gonna ask. The cop asked him for ID. He was trying to give it to her. Oh, sure. She was like, "What do you need his ID for?"
Oh yeah.
White privilege.
Yeah.
We know goddamn better than not to ask some stupid shit like that.
Yeah.
But white people, they feel and they know ain't shit gonna happen to them. They can ask that.
Yeah, they interact and talk differently to the police than
Exactly.
we would, and we know we even, you know, we can be as respectful as possible, and somehow it still can be a bad turnout. So
Very. I've had that many times. I don't use the word hate, but I still do not like police, and I will not. I've been in situations where I've been totally nice, and I'm always respectful. Now, I always say I do not like police, but I do respect them, and I respect their authority, right? I still don't like it.
I respect the badge.
I respect it. But your badge and your gun doesn't give you authorization to put me in ants beds or put me in the back of hot cars. A hot cements for no reason because I look like a suspect. Just all kinds of mistreatment. Dallas police, hell, they left me for dead. You know, they was gonna let some gang members just do some. We was in the wrong place partying. Our jobs in Dallas. We went to party at a reggae club. Turned out it was in a bad area. Stopped the police, Dallas police, and I'm calling you out. And I said, hey, these gang members right there trying to do something to us. They said, good luck, drove off. Black cops. Drove off. I thought they were playing. Wow. Then the dots kept getting lit on the car. But thankfully, I had called a cab prior to them approaching us. So that hesitation from the police helped us. So as soon as they left, the dots got small. They crossed the street. The cab came around the corner. We drove down the street with the cab door open, but we got away. So thank you, Dallas police.
Wow. Another one, number 2, I have the privilege of being favored by school authorities. What you guys think about that one? I mean, I see it happening. I can see it happening.
I think it depends on the actual. When you say I have the privilege by school authorities, are you just speaking of maybe the teachers who has authority over the students, the faculty?
I think another example could be, let's say, two students did the very exact same thing, one black, one white, but the discipline was different because of the color of their skin.
Okay, so I can see that, but how does that work if the school is, if there's a white school, a white student going to a predominantly black school? How does that work?
Well, I don't know if you would see any examples of white privilege at all black school. In my opinion, I don't think you would.
Yeah, because it's not amongst us as black people to withhold white privilege. You know, so she couldn't come to a black school or as a white student and have white privilege. No.
But I do see what you're saying, K Money. I do agree that there is white privilege in schools.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay, number 3. I have the privilege of attending segregated schools of affluence.
I don't know.
Say it again?
Say that again, yeah.
I have the privilege of attending segregated schools of affluence. Okay.
So to me that sounds like a white student going to, like we just said, a predominantly black school, but the acceptance there is a little bit better versus a black student going to a predominantly white school. The black student would be more apt to being mistreated in certain ways, versus if a white student comes to a black school, we're not really mistreating those students. But so they have the privilege, the white person has the privilege of going to, let's say, an HBCU, and it's all good.
Being treated,
being treated all good. They have that privilege, and it's all good because they white.
And I agree with that. You know, they will be treated as if they were one of us.
Right.
Yeah, for the most part.
Right.
Or either that, or on the flip side, they still will be treated as if they're one of us because if there's most black people, we don't fuck with you, we don't fuck with you.
Right.
But that don't mean we just gonna be bothering
because
you
you're
either.
white. Right.
Yeah. So that goes for black on black. If we don't fuck with, we don't fuck with you.
Facts.
So if you're a white student coming over and you go home and say, you know what? They don't really fuck with me like that. Meaning they don't talk to me, they don't bother me or whatever. You know, you're still being treated like that black student that they don't fuck with, if that even makes sense.
It does.
Yeah,
It
no, it
does.
makes
That's
a
a
lot
very
of
good
sense.
explanation, man. I appreciate you, because I wasn't really sure what that meant, but you gave a pretty clear explanation, and I totally understand it, and I agree with you. Number 4, I have the privilege of learning about my race in school. Now, we all know,
Yeah, they do have that.
Yeah.
you know,
Because all the history in school
Yeah,
is
but
there.
I know more about General Robert E. Lee and everything else more than I know about it could be, Frederick Douglass or anybody else that's black. So I know more about white history than I do black history.
I agree with that they do have the privilege to learn about their race in school. However, they're only learning part of the truth.
Right.
And some of that is lies. So they're learning some lies.
There's so much more to it.
And we're having to fight to get our history taught now.
Right.
You know, when we were in school, they taught some.
They had some forms, maybe, but it wasn't
no
a lot.
longer
I
like.
don't remember being in elementary they pushed Spanish very hard in elementary. Very hard at Edgar Allan Poe. I didn't have, other than Shape Center, I didn't have any classes that really pushed about my African American history.
It might be because they've always had a Black History Month.
Yeah,
They've had Black History Month, but you only get that 1 month. I'm talking about throughout the year,
But
we're
we also-
mainly learning about different other races in history.
Yeah, we only
you
get
know,
5%
Napoleons
of-
and all.
of the
We'll
credit.
we'll hit one time. Okay, yeah, this general here died, but it's not like a
Man, it
stretched
seems
out
like I
course for one
vaguely can
person.
remember learning some form of Black history. You know, because we celebrated Juneteenth. We've always celebrated Juneteenth here in Texas,
Right,
in
but that's in
Houston.
the summer.
But I'm just saying, I can't remember exactly from where, but I just seem like I remember hearing or being taught.
Shape Center. That's what you thought of.
Well, you did learn some form of Black history. However, the history that was being taught is the history that didn't appear to where it was non-threatening blacks.
Yeah.
Like we heard of Martin Luther King,
Right,
and
okay.
that seems as if that's all.
That's all. That's
For the most part of
Right,
who
you're
we
right
heard.
about that.
And then if it becomes the first black person to do something, we'll hear about that black person, like a Barbara Jordan. You hear a little bit about her, you know.
Okay.
You know, so.
Right.
But for the most part, it was Martin Luther King.
Martin Luther King.
You're right
And
about
you
that.
may hear some Thurgood Marshall
Right.
if there's the first black person to do
Yeah,
something.
I remember that they played the Martin Luther King in the hall. That's it. So that's the only person.
And that was probably doing his, on his birthday around that
Right,
time,
that's it.
close to the holiday. Yeah. And that may be it. You're probably right. All right, number 5, man. Moving on. I have the privilege of finding children's books that overwhelmingly represent my race.
Yeah, I agree.
I think more so nowadays you are finding more African American books in the libraries now, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure how old this reference is that I'm going by, but I can imagine 5 or 10 years ago this probably was a very true statement.
bunch of
I don't
white
necessarily agree with this one right here.
I actually do,
Yeah.
because I think about the authors. Who was authors back then writing those types of books?
Okay.
So if your authors are predominantly white, writing those types of books, those are the type of books that'll be in the schools or somewhere to go learn. If you don't have very many authors of color writing like that, so I can see that.
So even in today's time, you feel the same.
Well, in today's time, you may have more black authors,
Right.
but I still think that they're outnumbered.
Right.
Oh, most definitely.
Oh, yeah,
we
yeah.
will always
So-
be outnumbered.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
and because they're outnumbered, you got to think. I think that there are more black authors today, but I think that they're outnumbered. I think that white authors would still have a better chance of getting their books on the shelves than black authors. I think that a lot of black authors go the route of self-publishing because they can't get the machine behind them like some white
Right.
authors.
It's harder to find in the libraries, like it's stating.
Yeah, and so of course if you're going with self-publishing, then you're limited to where you're being where your
Exposing
material
it, right.
is being
It makes
placed.
sense. Yeah,
So-
I feel that. All right, man. Number 6. I have the privilege of soaking in media blatantly biased towards my race.
Yeah.
Fox News.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We pretty much see this every day, every week. The media stereotyping us in
All the
some form
time.
of fashion. Yeah. We don't even need to discuss that one much.
Yeah.
Number 7. I have the privilege of escaping violent stereotypes associated with my race.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of almost hand in hand with that previous one. If it ain't the media, it's the world. Everybody else is stereotyping us as a people, and like I say, it's obvious the difference between white and black.
Black. Yeah. It's a big difference.
It's clearly in front of our face. It's happening in front of our face, and that's totally disrespectful in a
Exactly.
sense. All right, man. Moving on. Number 8. I have the privilege of playing the colorblind card when wiping the slate clean of centuries of racism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they.
I don't agree with that.
I think that they do have the privilege of playing
they
that
play
card,
that card.
depending on depending on, like for instance, let me explain it this way. Because of the Caucasians who are in high places in the U.S. and certain laws being written, right? I think that they can play that card as if they didn't know.
Ignorant. They're playing. If they're playing dumb, or if they are ignorant to the fact, then I agree. They have that right to play the card because you just don't know. But I mean,
but the thing is that the card is accepted for them to play based upon who's in place and where they are, and we know who runs this country,
right?
Because of who runs this country and how this and what this country is founded upon. That card is always in play for them.
I get it.
So it's always in play.
I get it.
According to the beliefs of this country, yes.
Yeah,
indeed.
yeah. That card is always in play.
It's almost
Now
understood.
the thing is, I will say this too. We're pushing back.
Yeah,
We're pushing back.
but we're not pushing back
You know-
hard enough. We need to push back stronger.
Stronger.
I still think I get you, but I think we really are. We're just outnumbered. I think we really are.
Yeah.
Like for instance, critical race theory, right? We're pushing back now. Y'all need to tell the truth about this history.
Right.
Y'all can't just say that your ancestors. No, you got to tell it all.
Right.
You got to tell it all.
You gotta tell it all.
So I just think that we're outnumbered.
And that's where the difference comes in my opinion, in regards to you say we're pushing back, and I feel we're stronger in numbers. So if we can all get together and get on one accord, we might be able to make a difference.
Yeah, here's the thing though. Because we're outnumbered, it's gonna take some of them to side with us. That's just like
Exactly.
It's gonna take some of them
It's gonna-
to side with us
Exactly. And
because
that's
we're outnumbered.
right.
Well, they're becoming the minority now. They're not the majority. Unfortunately, the minorities do have. I think the minorities outnumber.
But the minority, the rich minority, don't outnumber the rich majority. You get what I'm saying?
I got
the
it. I
ones
got
with
it.
the speaking voice.
I
Are
got
the
it.
ones
I
with
understand.
power.
I got it. It does make sense. It does make sense. Number 9, and I think this also kind of ties in with the previous one we were just discussing. I have the privilege of being insulated from the daily toll of racism. Actually, I think the last two actually kind of fall in hand with the one we were just discussing.
Say it again.
Say it again.
It says, I have the privilege of being insulated from the daily toll of racism.
Yeah, because they know how to hide it, and they'll hide it in their neighborhoods.
To me, that sounds as if they're being protected, insulated.
Yeah.
Protected by being ignorant of
No,
the fact? Or?
read it again. I'm sorry.
Okay. I have the privilege of being insulated from the daily toll of racism.
Okay, daily toll of racism. That tells me, okay, on a daily basis, racism is going on.
Right, around me and in my
around
face.
me and in my face.
But it don't affect
I have the privilege to be protected from that.
you. Right.
Meaning that if my people are being racist toward this group of people, my people are going to protect me from that, if that makes sense.
I thought it meant more like racism, like you said, racism is going on every day. But since I'm white, I don't have to go through that. I don't have to worry about it.
pertain
I'm
to
protected.
me.
It don't pertain to me. I'm protected. That's how I was thinking.
Okay, yeah, that too.
I was thinking that, and because I think we hear the word the N-word more than we hear honky or something related to someone being white.
Well.
So in that sense, I would say that's
So let me ask you this then. Because I very few white people can take advantage of white privilege when that N-word is used.
no. I'm not.
I'm just saying
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah, no,
we're speaking on white privilege, but
No,
No.
see, I think that's the only privilege they don't have. When it's used, especially in
they don't get a pass.
in a word-
They hardly get a pass whenever,
Yeah.
if even in the event of being ignorant to the fact, very seldom will you, or in my case, very seldom have I ever seen where they've gotten away with it. They've dealt with consequences, depending on who's around, I guess, will determine, how it's dealt with. But I just don't think that they're able to utilize white privilege when utilizing that word.
No.
And the reason being, though, here's the why. Because it's known that, okay, that's kind of a form of discrimination and hate speech.
Uh-huh.
That stuff is in the laws. And when it's in the laws, it's a little different versus something that's just being morally jacked up. Hey, you showing favoritism to me because I'm a white student versus this black student.
Right.
And so it's morally wrong to show favoritism because this student is white, but there's nothing against the law for you to do that versus the N-word with discrimination and hate.
Clearly.
There are hate crimes and hate laws and stuff. So no, they can't get away with it because it's in the law.
Right, I got you. And the law is the law. All right, last but not least, man, number 10, I have the privilege of living ignorant of the dire state of racism today.
Well,
Say it again.
They can just live ignorant. They ain't gotta.
as if it's not happening.
Ignorant basically is the wild card.
That would tie into.
That's how I'm understanding that. I have the privilege of living ignorant of the dire state of racism today.
So just not paying attention to that racism is still going on, maybe, is what they're saying.
Well, I get what they mean by the privilege of living ignorant. You got to think. When you think of racism in this country, you only think of white for the. That's the first ethnicity that comes to mind. White people, because we know what this country was founded upon. And how white people treat black people. We know that black people can be racist. We know that Asians and Hispanics can be racist. We know that. But when you think of racism in America, the first ethnicity is white folks. And because they know what it was founded upon, then I have the privilege of being ignorant. Because, we can sweep it under the rug. America don't really want to talk about race anyway. Nah. So I can hide up underneath that because America ain't gonna talk about it. So we ain't got to talk about it. I can hide because America ain't really truly doing much to try to bring it forward.
Like you say, sweeping it under the rug
to the
as
forefront.
much as they can.
At the end of the day, shoot, we've only had civil rights since '64.
Right.
Yeah. All right, well, fellas. We'll talk about the black fact you can't take back. First black woman to run for president. This occurred in 1972 and she was also almost assassinated 3 times.
Oh.
Shirley Chisholm.
Oh man.
Has the honor of being the first black person to do a lot of things. She was the first black woman elected to the U.S. Congress, the first black woman member of Congressional Rules Committee, and as I stated earlier, she was the first black woman to run for president.
Oh my goodness!
So shout out to Shirley Chisholm. Doesn't necessarily tie into our black fact, but just the fact that this black woman was trying to establish a position of power to try to hopefully try to change things in America. For us blacks. So shout out to Shirley Chisholm. This concludes another Hot Black Friday episode. And be sure you tune in next week for Music Monday. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at 52 Scott Podcast, Instagram and Facebook, The 52 Scott Podcast. And for all you YouTubers, don't forget to like and subscribe.